Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to your source for fantasy hockey and betting news. It is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and we have a lot to get to today, including a serious breakdown of the upcoming week. Let's get right to it, and let's get this paper.
Your Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The action on the ice is heating up, and the action in your fantasy team's inbox is also heating up. That's why you're tuned and tapped into the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Mr. Steele Roden and your boy Big Flip Livingstone. And thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We see you and appreciate you, including our friends at betonline.net, which today's episode is brought to you by. BetOnline.net has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My friends, welcome back inside the lab. Thank you for being here. Friday episode. Steele and I are grinding out here day to day, week to week, posting picks, breaking down games. We are taking this serious, people, because fantasy hockey, fantasy in general, can get away from you very quickly. And today's episode, Steele and I are going to jump into our teams. In our listener league, we're going to take a look at next week's matchup, week 4. Steele and I are struggling a bit out of the gate, so this might be a good angle for y'all out there who are also struggling. Steele and I are going to take a look at the matchups. I believe Steele's been proposed a trade. We're going to take a look at some of these trade angles. Of course, big-time bets. Steele and I are heating up as well, people, so pay attention to that. More importantly, though, my friend, my co-host, my brother, I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this league that's going on, because as much as I'm blaming my, lack of performance here in my busyness and my personal life, that doesn't matter when it comes to paying out the money. And we have some money on this league. So why don't we talk about what we're doing for this upcoming week, how things are going in this league. Shout out to our listeners that have been a part of it. But yeah, why don't you take it away, my friend? We'll get to the bets. We got lots to talk about. Let's just talk some fantasy hockey. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I'm super excited to get into this conversation about what's going on with our fantasy teams right now. So real quick, let me pull it up on the screen so everyone who's watching on YouTube can see what we're talking about right now. There we go. There it is on the screen. The fantasy league that Flip and I are involved in with a few of our listeners out there. 12 teams, like I mentioned, including Flip and I. And this is sort of the breakdown right now of what the fantasy league is looking at. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, as of right now, I am getting absolutely destroyed heading into Friday, into tonight's games on the week. I'm losing 9-0-2 in the 11 categories. But if you can't see, it is pretty close still, even though I'm down 9-0-2. A couple of the categories I'm tied in, even though I'm losing in some of them, I'm only down by a few hits, a few blocks, special team points. My goalie categories haven't jumped in yet, so hopefully that should bring some of the winning records onto my side heading into this week. But yeah, it's been a struggle, Flip. It's been a struggle for both of us to start the season so far.
Steele, this is sports, right? Like as much as we are the quote-unquote experts, and we spend probably way too much time. I know both of our spouses, our partners are probably like, how are you guys not dominating every single league, given how much time you both spend watching hockey and burning up our personal time? But this is what happens, man. Like, some things are unpredictable. We're betting and banking on human beings here. That's my cop-out answer. The real answer here is, Steele, I'm still liking some of the pieces here on your team, having a look. Also, like, you have a couple of guys who are just starting to kind of scratch the surface of what they should be doing. I think you can expect more from Braden Point. Andre Burakovsky, great start. I think you can expect a little bit more from even guys like Steven Stamkos. I know he's had a decent start, but maybe your real concern, you talked about it the other day, Andre Vasilevsky giving up muffins left, right, and center. Marc-Andre Fleury starting to figure it out. Yeah. But I think you alluded to it on the other day's episode. Goaltending so far in the NHL this year, and maybe we kind of predicted it with all these 50-50 splits and all the randomness, goaltending has been a little bit haphazard so far. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, I think it's been a very shaky for a lot of teams out there in the crease. Yeah, like it was a tough start for me with the goalies. I have Andre Vasilevsky and Marc-Andre Fleury. At the beginning of the season, Fleury, yeah, like they didn't win their first 4 or 5 games. The Minnesota Wild did. Even though Andre Vasilevsky was getting wins, his save percentage right now is at a 902. His goals against average is just under 3 goals a game.
Yeah.
So he has not been great. And they are starting to pick it up a little bit. I should expect once I do get that third goalie start this week for the goalies, for my team to be winning in the goalie categories. But honestly, it's really been my defensemen that have been letting me down so far this season. Aaron Ekblad, losing Aaron Ekblad in week 1 really hurt my fantasy team. And then even Nikolai Ehlers now, I was checking out Nikolai Ehlers. It looks like he's going to be out for a long period of time as well. They don't know when he's actually going to be available and come back into the roster. So they got to do more tests, more things to see what his timeline, his timetable is going to be back so he can join the Winnipeg Jets back in action. But like I've been on the waiver wire every single week, picking up defensemen like it's my day job out here. That's how bad it is. Like I didn't draft Jared Spurgeon. I didn't draft Nick Jensen. I didn't draft Ryan Pulak. I've been picking these guys up left, right, and center for the last 2 weeks. And, you look at their overall stats. They each have 1 goal, 4 assists. Nick Jensen, I just picked him up last night. He's got 1 goal, 6 assists. My defensemen are really killing me right now in the season.
This is just one of those things and I think I'm almost positive when we did this draft, I said to you, you waited a little bit because you stocked up on some good forwards, couple of good goalies. And then, you were almost left with Aaron Ekblad as like a must take for that elite level. And then he goes down. And then all of a sudden, because you did take that strategy, not a bad one. It's just, this is how things shake out. All of a sudden now you're in scramble mode. And for those people listening who are also in scramble mode, a little bit like myself, because I have the likes of John Klingberg and, even Mackenzie Weegar, who started okay. And now they're really putting up nothing. Replacing forwards, replacing centermans, especially, that's something, look at you adding Shane Pinto. That's a solid pickup for a forward. Replacing these D-men, and all of a sudden, we had injuries all across the league, Seth Jones and otherwise. Picking up and replacing D-men are a lot more difficult, and then you move up the difficulty scale on replacing goalies, obviously even more difficult. So this is one of those things, people. Make sure you're tuned in to Waiver Wire Mondays when Steele and I drop our weekly targets that you could be picking up to slot into these spots. That's what you have to do. Steele just said it. The man's out here winning money regularly, and he has to juggle injuries or otherwise. This happens. One of the reasons why you got to keep it tapped to us is that injury bug. Keep it tapped to betonline.net as your number one source for betting football and the start of the new NBA season all year long. Just like Steele and I, you can find your latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every single game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, from live betting to up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It continues to be the fastest and easiest way for you to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your next listen, though, go check out Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest games, instant reactions, biggest stories, and the take of the day, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Remember to hit the subscribe and the follow button. Flip and I really do appreciate all the love and support out there. Again, we just got over 600 subscribers on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
We're hoping to get to 700 by the new year. And that's all thanks to you guys out there tuning in and following the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Flip, to continue on the subject of waiver wires and defensemen, I'm just taking a look at the defensemen that are available in our league right now, and there's not a lot going on.
No.
Defensemen are really hard to come by. That's why they're, especially in categorical leagues, depending on what categories you have, they are really, really crucial for your league to have at least 1 or 2 top defensemen. And, just looking at the top guys right now, John Klingberg, he's only got 3 assists. He's -6. has 15 shots, 9 hits, 10 blocks. He's done nothing. Esa Lindell, who I've actually, over the past couple of years, seem to pick him up every now and again throughout the year. He's been pretty bad so far. Kevin Shattenkirk, only 4 assists. There's David Savard. He's got 4 assists as well. If you want a guy who's going to put up a ton of blocks, David Savard's your guy. But just not a lot of people out there, or not a lot of defensemen out there that can really help a fantasy team right now.
You know what, Steele? There's actually 2. You're so right. Spot on right. There's 2 names, though, that I'm looking at here that if you were to look at a defenseman, and I don't want to get ahead of waiver wire Monday because that obviously changes a whole scenario when you look at the week ahead, what just happened over the weekend, which obviously we're not factoring in. But just looking at it right now, like if I literally had to pick up a D-man over the weekend, and again, I haven't looked at these schedules, so that would obviously impact things. Matt Roy on the LA Kings, 3 goals, 2 assists, 25 shots on goal, 14 hits, 25 block shots. Not a bad option. Steele's bringing up that look for you guys on YouTube right now. By the way, if you're not paying attention on YouTube, smash that subscribe button and head over and check out our visuals because we got some more graphics coming up. We're going to be showing stats. We're changing things up a bit. But the other one, Steele, and more of like a short-term fill-in, his percentage on ownership is up. Dmitry Orlov, 5 assists, 24 shots on goal, 29 hits, 15 block shots. If you're just talking about filling out some categories, obviously we don't know what they're going to do over the next couple of weeks. Those 2 D-men, they're going to be available out there. Both guys owned at around 50%. Why not take a shot on those to fill out your, this week? But again, hard to look at the end of the week. Need to know what's going on the weekend. But the main takeaway here is if you're not seeing the struggles Steele and I are going through, this is why you need to have your finger on the pulse, people. You got to be doing your research because, Steele's been dealt a pretty crappy hand with some of these injuries, and you're going to have to struggle to kind of fit in the pieces. What we won't struggle with fitting in the pieces is the big time bets coming up. But Steele, I think what I'm seeing here is a pretty common thread. There has been a lot of up and down turbulence in the standings and otherwise. This start of the NHL season has been a little bit wild, and I'm excited to see how the rest of it goes just up to the Christmas break. Because, if you want to talk about this just from a very plain take a step back look, the New Jersey Devils are on top in the Metro Division.
Yeah.
That's number 1. The Dallas Stars are on top in the Central Division. That's number 2. And how about number 3? The Seattle Kraken are knocking on the door on the 3rd spot in the Pacific Division. Those are just, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe indicative of how crazy this season has been already.
Yeah, it has been a crazy season. Again, we're just getting into the 2nd month as well of the NHL season. And I did say in the offseason when we were doing our predictions of where teams would fall, I thought the Seattle Kraken would be a lot better, especially a lot better than the Anaheim Ducks, the San Jose Sharks, those 2 teams in California. So I really like what I've seen so far from the Seattle Kraken. I think their goaltending can be a little bit better. I know Philip Grubauer went down with injury, and he's just working his way back into the roster as well. When he's got Martin Jones and Joey Decord, who are kind of just filling in that position right now. And hopefully, again, like I mentioned, I really expect Grubauer to be a lot better. He hasn't been, as good as we've seen him. But again, dealing with those injuries that he's dealt with, hopefully he can come back and be better than we've seen. And, I'm just taking a look at your fantasy team right now. You've got Seth Jones on the IR. You've got Alex Iafallo on the IR.
Yep.
How are you feeling about your team right now? Because, I'm just looking at the overall stats. Nick Suzuki's playing great. Philip Deneau, he's got 4 goals. Obviously, Kirill Kaprizov has been outstanding. What is going on with Patrik Laine? I know he was out with injury. Only got 1 goal. I guess he's only played 4 games. He's only got 1 goal to show for it. But, Adrian Kempe's been great. Mikael Granlund's got 8 assists for you. How are you feeling about your fantasy team right now?
Yeah, you know what, Steele? These kinds of categorical leagues can be tricky. And I think one of the things that I've learned about going into this league with our listeners is they've been paying attention and they covered some of the angles that you and I were going after. And that's not a cop-out at all. That's just more credit due to the people in our league who are clearly also good fantasy GMs. I'm just a little, I love my goaltending, and I said that off the jump. Jari Forsberg and Sorokin, I'm comfortable with that. I have had nothing from my defenseman. And, we just talked about it at length, so I don't need to get into that kind of trait. But, I've had to juggle a little bit here. I was hoping for a lot more out of Owen Power. He's starting to pick it up a little bit. I'm not giving up on these players, Steele. That's why, I do like my team. I'm not giving up on these players. But again, shout out to our listeners. Shout out to the people making good pickups, good drop-offs. Obviously, subscribed, listening to those Monday waiver wire episodes. I'm feeling okay, Steele, but I might need to pull the trigger on a trade. I know that you were offered up a trade. Maybe let's get to that right after the break. We'll talk about it quickly. And there's only 2 games on the board. So let's talk about that trade and our couple of big-time bets right after the break.
Well, I do just want to say before we,
Please.
we do our ad read.
And we'll swap this screen out too, people. We're just getting the graphics under our belt here, so.
I do want to say, though, you do know you can pick up 2 other players, right? You only have 2 players on your bench right now.
Oh, trust me, I know. And I've been trying to swap people in and out. And hey, listen, wedding heater, pal, wedding heater. But this is the thing when, look, when I'm looking at this waiver wire of options, when I'm trying to add a D-man too, and I know we have a big free agent budget, our listeners are out there. You know what, Steele? Right now, I'm going to throw a couple of bucks on my boy, Matty Waugh. My bad if it's Waugh. I don't think it is. It's Roy. But
I think it's
the
Roy
issue is here, Steele. I have empty bench spots, but what do I do overall with how good the rest of the teams are around us? I'm going to have to get lucky. So I'm going to hit this waiver wire and hope to get lucky. I might listen to your waiver wire selections on Monday before I do because you've been on a heater.
Yeah, the waiver wire guys I've been checking out, Brady McNabb, Brandon Montour, a couple of others as well have been great the last week. Real quick before we go again to break, I want to take a real quick look at the standings as well in our fantasy league. Just overall, obviously we've got 2 different divisions, 6 teams in each division. You and I, Flip, are actually in the Eastern Division in our fantasy league. As of right now, I'm at 500. I'm just at 500%, 10-10-2 overall in the first 2 weeks of our league.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it is quite nice. But really what I want to look at is over in the West, getting pucks deep. I believe that's Spencer Frame. He's 17-3-2. And real quick, I just want to look at his team because his team absolutely phenomenal so far. Barkov, Bergeron, Sam Bennett. He picked up your guy, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. We won't get into that.
Let's not, because hey, that move was sponsored by Landshark. Thank you very much.
He's also got Philip Forsberg, who seems to be turning things around. Mason Marchment, Cale Makar, who still has yet to score a goal, but he's got 8 assists on the season. Justin Falk, Neil Pionk. His goaltending, absolutely phenomenal as well. Connor Hellebuck. His
goaltending is what I like to call, he had his finger on the trigger and picked up Scotty Wedgwood and Stuart Skinner because if I'm poking holes here, which is what I'm trying to do because Mans are in last place, but he has the fantasy show. Scott Wedgwood slowed down. Stuart Skinner slowed down.
Well, Wedgwood's Ottinger is out week to week right now. So
this is what I'm saying, though. He had his finger on the trigger. This is good. Good things for him. Must be nice. Puck's in deep. If you're listening to this episode, credit due, but Man's in last place right here. Steele and I, we're coming for you, even though we're in the other division. Take notes.
We're coming. We're on the come
also,
up right
Mans
now.
are 6-0-5 this week, so hopefully I'm on a bit of the start of a heater. Let's not get into that. We'll be checking back into these teams, though, Steele, because we need to know what's good. We got money on the line. Money on the line coming up for big-time bets. I'm fired up. Let's get to it.
Everyone out there, I got to let everyone know about Simply Safe. Obviously, these numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen Simply Safe home security to protect their home and their families. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right, obviously. Flip and I know this firsthand. We both have Simply Safe at our homes or our apartments, and it honestly makes me feel super safe when I go to bed every single night. At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters, and I know this because I use Simply Safe at my home. They protect you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have you and your family's back. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedonnhl. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month for free. Yeah, first month for free after signing up for the interactive moderating plan. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedonnHL to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on all podcast platforms. Hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Flip and I really do appreciate all the love and support out there. With that being said, it's now Flip and I's job to make you some money out there with the big time bets. I don't want to toot my own horn because I started off real bad this season.
You should.
But
no, go ahead.
The last couple of days, I finally got a perfect 3 for 3 last night.
Yes,
Maple Leafs on the money, or 2 days ago, Maple Leafs on the money line, anytime Austin Matthews goal, and Buffalo Sabres on the money line. I'm finally above 500, 26, 25 and 0. Locks of the night are 11, 6 and 0. So I'm heating up right now. And if you don't mind, Flip, I would like to start this off with my first.
You've earned the credit. You've earned the credit, brother. Mans are only over here at 19, 23 and 0, and my locks have been struggling. I'm 5, 9 and 0. Take it away, my friend. You've earned it.
All right, the Young Bucks gonna kick it off right now. I'm gonna play it a little safe with the first pick because there's only 2 games on the board for Friday.
That's just it, yeah.
The Carolina Hurricanes versus the Buffalo Sabres. Then we've got the second of the global series between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Colorado Avalanche playing in Finland. But my first bet is coming from that Sabres Hurricanes game. I'm just taking the Hurricanes on the money line, minus 200. Look, I've said this. I'll keep this short here. The Sabres were on a heater to start October. Usually it trends downwards in November. They came off a big 6-3 win off the Pittsburgh Penguins to start off November, but I think that's going to quickly turn around for them. Hurricanes on the money line, minus 200 for my first pick.
The Carolina Hurricanes also in the last 10 games against the Buffalo Sabres, not too bad. How about 9-0-1? They have points in 10 9-1-0. Wins in 9 of the last 10. I think it's okay if you're going to lay a little bit of extra on the money line here. I'm fine with it. Much like I discussed about the Chicago Blackhawks, nothing taken away from that good start. Not a good team. Taking nothing away from the Buffalo Sabres who can score goals. And all of a sudden, a decent, balanced attack. No goaltending. And this Carolina Hurricanes team is for real. Track record is indicating this. I'm liking that pick, Steele. Let me talk about my first pick, because as much as I am feeling the Carolina Hurricanes in this game, you got to give the Buffalo Sabres the credit that they deserve for being able to score and roll 3 lines this season, Steele. And I meant to take a look at this earlier because I wanted to see the combinations. This third line of Dylan Cousins and I'm going to butcher this name, Turka, Alex Tuck, and then you're rolling Jack Quinn, Middlestat, and Olofsson, and up top, Thompson, Skinner, and Okposo. You know I've talked at length about Alex Tuck. He's from the area. He loves being a Buffalo Sabre, and it shows. He has been nothing but lethal. Offensively, he plays a 2-way game, and now he's even down on the third line, but hey, still playing 18 minutes a game, 7 goals, 3 assists. He has a goal and an assist in his last 2 games. Give me the Alex Tuck anytime point. And also, hey, 6 points in 8 career games against the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm going to take Alex Tuck anytime point for my first pick of the night, and I'm feeling that one, Steele.
Yeah, I think I might have to sprinkle some money on that too. And, just looking at the Sabres, I know we've talked about that they're probably going to trend downwards for the, next little while in the standings.
It's so hot.
But at some point, we might have to start having a little bit more faith in Eric Comrie and Craig Anderson. Now, Craig Anderson's over 40 years old. I believe he's 41 years old, and he's still getting the job done right now. But Eric Comrie's been playing phenomenally so far for the Buffalo Sabres. Nonetheless.
So you just jinxed us is what you're saying. Jeez, Steele.
I might have, knock on wood, but look, credit where credit's due. Eric Comrie's been playing absolutely phenomenal so far.
Thank you.
But my next 2 picks are coming from that global series. Colorado Avalanche, Columbus Blue Jackets. My first pick, I think he's due for a goal. Not sure if he's going to get it, but I'm taking Devin Taves anytime point. He's been a little soft so far. You talked about him regressing at the start of the season or for this season. He's got 4 assists on the season. Not so bad, It is what it is, but he's due for a goal. Nonetheless, I think he's going to get at least a point in the first of back-to-back games against the Blue Jackets. I'm taking Devin Taves anytime point, and then my lock of the night, Avalanche on the puck line. I think Mikko Rantanen going back home from Finland, could see a goal from him as well. Might sprinkle anytime goal on Mikko Rantanen, but I think he's going to take control of this game with Nathan MacKinnon. And hopefully Cale Makar can get a goal too.
Well, then you're really going to like my lock of the night, but I will sprinkle my second pick. Just something feels like this is going to go over. And I'm not going to get too much into it other than because it is overseas. So some of these trends, it's hard to kind of relate them to a game on, even ground. And I understand both sides have Finnish players, so there's going to be some fired up guys on both sides to play in front of their home crowds. But 5 of the last 7 games between these two clubs has gone well over the number. I think you're going to see a really good game from the Avalanche as well. I was a little wary to, wager on something that is going to fire up both teams to be overseas and playing this game. But I like the over here. I like Colorado to score at least 3 or 4, and the same, 2 or 3 from Columbus is not out of the question. Laine is going to be fired up. Let's take 6.5 and let's hammer the over. I'm okay with that. My lock of the night, Mikko Rantanen anytime assist. This just feels like free money. The odds aren't out on any of these yet. We'll make sure to tweet them out live for you guys right before puck drop. So you have it all. 2:00 p.m. Eastern time for this Colorado game. 4 goals, 7 assists this year for Mikko Rantanen. He has not missed a beat. He was on a 4-game pointless skid heading into last game.
Yeah.
Broke that with a goal and an assist. I think the floodgates are about to open for this player who Steele and I are very high on. Going to be playing with his hometown best friend in Arturi Lehkonen. I think the Avs go off, so I'm with you, Steele. But I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle, and I'm going to hammer 2 player props. Obviously, one in this game, one in the Sabres game. But my lock is Mikko Rantanen, anytime assist. I think the Avs have a big game starting with Rantanen.
I hope he does because I've got him on the fantasy team and I could really use some goals and assists in this fantasy league that we're in. But just to reiterate it once again, the Avalanche on the puck line at plus 100 is my lock of the night. And Mikko Rantanen anytime assist is Flip's lock of the night.
Yes, sir.
Punch it in, lock it in, make your money with these picks. I'm on a heater. Flip's turning it around on this weekend as well. That being said, once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your next listen, though, go check out Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, once you subscribe and follow this podcast right here, you'll get all the latest episodes Monday through Friday, 7:00 in the morning Eastern time. Thank you again so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Have a great weekend as well. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again on Monday.
Peace.